Hello, everyone, and welcome to PJ's Media Reviews. Today, I'm here with two guests, Starfleet Boy and Sean, and we're going to talk about the 2017 masterpiece, Justice League. First up, we have Starfleet Boy. Please introduce yourself for the audience.
Hello, I'm Starfleet Boy. You can check me out on Starfleet Boy on YouTube and Starfleet Boy on Twitter and everything. Actually, I have an OnlyFans in case you're interested in that.
Oh my.
Well. And here's Sean. He has two YouTube channels. Two.
That's right. I've got two YouTube channels. One is Trick on the Tube and one is ABTG. One reviews exclusively Star Trek, mainly Star Trek. The other one is just all sorts of stuff like this. Do you bleed? Look, I've got my Batman shirt on. See?
We've all just very recently watched Justice League, which, just to give you a bit of background on the movie, it's not the movie that I don't think Zack Snyder wanted. A lot of it was changed by the studio heads, and Joss Whedon was brought in to, I guess, lighten up the movie. Fix it. And there's more humor injected in it. They reshot certain scenes, like some of the Aquaman stuff, the introduction to Aquaman. So there was a bit of meddling, and just right off the bat, I'm going to tell everybody this is not going to be, at least not for me, it's not going to be a very positive take. I'm not going to be looking for a lot of redeeming factors.
I think Braxton agrees with you. It won't be a positive take.
Because quite frankly, I think it's one of the worst films ever made. It's one of the biggest mistakes ever released theatrically as a big budget kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I would agree that if you're looking
challenge for the audience is to come up with a worse movie than
no, but like if you're looking not at just worst movies, if you're looking at like AAA $200 to $300 million movies, because this costs like $300 million. This is this and Solo, and I would argue that at least Solo isn't dreadfully terrible. Solo is just boring, or at least to me. It's just boring as hell. This movie is god awful. It's just dreadful, all of it. Fucking the beginning of it is kind of intriguing. There's like it starts off and it got me the second time. This is the second time I've watched it since 2017. I mean, the beginning kind of got me. I was like, okay, I'm hooked. And then I completely forgotten how much nothing it is.
Okay, well, let's just take it from the very beginning. The cold open, I guess, is the scene with Batman, right? Where he's chasing that criminal. No. Oh, I'm sorry. Skipped over. The god awful opening of this movie, which I don't know how I forgot it, is the cell phone footage of Superman with the weird mouth.
That's
and
right.
It's like talking about his symbol, and it's like a river. And
it's the awkward questions by the kids, right?
And the kids like asks him a question, and then it just cuts off, and then it cuts to the Batman thing, which looks so fucking bad. It looks like, not only does it look fake, like it's on a set, the CGI with the parademon is no good. It's like this cartoony kind of version of Batman. Feels completely different from what we were given in Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition, because I don't acknowledge the theatrical version. But
I love how every DC film you need to acknowledge like the second fixed version of their movies. Like none of their first takes. They release all of their movies in like beta tests, and they're all shit.
Then? Will they fix?
Oh, that's too late. Fuck that.
84.
Wonder Woman is a masterpiece compared to this.
And Braxton's here too, and so is Shishan Girl. Oh my gosh, everyone's here.
Watching Justice League, I sat there and I was like, how dare I insult Wonder Woman 1984 when this exists? God.
Anyway, no, I kind of think they're on par. I think actually Wonder Woman 1984 is like just as bad. And also I have a question. So like when Bruce Wayne kind of harasses Diana about Steve, this is like obviously after Steve came back. So he's like, so she's still alone after Steve. She never ends up dating anyone, right? Like
this movie was before they planned on having Diana be an active superhero in the 80s, because it seems like she's been absent for however many years, but in reality she has been around saving people.
So
but even the Aquaman things, like there's problems with like how Justice League ties into like the Aquaman movie, and I don't know.
So
There's so many
Justice League.
inconsistencies.
So DC is like um Star Trek CBS, and Marvel is like Star Wars and Disney, right? Is that what you're saying?
Is that what you're trying to? I don't know what you're trying to say. I'm
Like
not going anywhere there.
Star Trek CBS doesn't care that Discovery was more modern than it should have been, or that the
Hmm.
Klingons,
Okay,
like
kind
they
of.
don't care, and DC doesn't care either. They're like,
I think it's
we don't
different.
like. There's
I
things that
think
are
I
obvious
think I'm sorry to
that
take
they
this
change.
discussion off course, but I think that what you're
Well,
trying to say is okay. I'll take a second. I think that Viacom CBS make active decisions to make the shows the way they are. They decided to make Discovery look
Yeah,
different.
yeah, exactly.
Whereas DC, or at least for the DCEU, they're just fucking winging everything. There's like they put out a movie,
How can
and like
you
because
wing that
this
much money? I feel like it's got to be a choice.
okay.
How can you be winging $380 million?
No, I think Zack Snyder had a particular vision for the DCU. I mean, he started it with Man of Steel.
Yeah, he was
He
supposed to
he
be the
he
Kevin Feige of it all, right? In the beginning.
Right.
he continued it with Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice and Justice League, and he was supposed to do a second Justice League as well soon after. And I think what this was, his vision was too big for them, and they wanted to go. They looked at Marvel as kind of like the blueprint, and that's, I think there was a mistake. Kevin Sujihara, there was a thing about how they had to get this movie out in time for them to get their bonuses or something. There's all kinds of reasons, and Deborah Snyder is a producer, Zack Snyder's wife, and they didn't have a lot of time to do certain things like the visual effects, which remember at one point the movie was supposed to be out in March of 2017, and then it got delayed again after the whole Zack Snyder tragedy thing. That's where Joss Whedon in the following months did very rapid reshoots while Henry Cavill was filming Mission
Fallout.
Impossible, Mission Impossible Fallout, and therefore they had to do this whole CG job. So every time you see Henry Cavill, you know exactly if it's Zack Snyder or Joss Whedon reshoots. It's like that obvious, and that's a huge mistake. But it's like they didn't trust Zack Snyder's overall vision, and who knows if his overall vision would have panned out. But I mean, he wanted to take it in a direction where Darkseid was a prominent figure, and now this is like an alternate universe version of the DCU where they're saying this is not canon. This is basically a narrative cul-de-sac. Like you can kind of like
Are they
see that.
considering the Snyder Cut canon now?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
No, they wouldn't.
The Snyder Cut's just a creative kind
It's
of
an
like
alternate
outlet
version.
for Snyder, and this is the canon film, which
Like
is the
Logan.
saddest thing ever.
It's not like Batman
not
v
like
Superman. The Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman, say for example, is the actual movie. That 3-hour R-rated version of the movie, you could have taken some things out to make it not so
There's a
R-rated.
3-hour version of Batman vs Superman. Wow, I hadn't seen that one.
That's
The
funny
Ultimate
because
Edition.
I brought it up many times.
I was gonna say every single discussion we do, he talks about it because he loved
and
it.
you
made a
even
review.
you even
watched his
confirmed to
review.
us that it was the Ultimate Edition was on HBO Max.
Oh,
I
never
asked
mind.
somebody. I think that was you. I don't know.
It doesn't feel like 3 hours every time. I feel like you guys are making that up about me.
Have you seen
having-
the?
I may have seen it and
I
forgotten.
haven't seen it yet.
It's the version where Batman, like when he kills somebody, you actually see like blood splatter out of the back of their head or something.
Oh my!
It's a darker version. It actually explains more of it. It makes Batman much more of a villain than the theatrical cut. Theatrical cut doesn't show how much Clark is looking into him, but the 3-hour version has a lot more Clark Kent kind of discovering how vicious Batman is, and the fact that when he brands these criminals, I mean, these guys are getting killed in there in the prison and stuff. So he's responsible. Like the fallout of his violence is more properly illustrated. And then you get into this version of Justice League is like a fucking cartoon. It's like a cartoon. Not only does it have terrible visual effects, because the reason they're so bad is because they were rushed, and they wanted Snyder to change like the costume and everything. He wanted a black suited Superman. They were like, no way, for whatever reason.
Okay, so wait a
And
minute. Sorry.
strange. Yeah, go ahead.
The visual effects are rushed, and the visual effects look shit because maybe the visual effect. And we're not blaming the visual effects artists on here. You know, everyone works very hard, but maybe they. I'm not going to say not enough money was dumped into this, but so they didn't have enough time, etc. But just every fucking thing is filmed in front of a green screen. Even goddamn Clark Kent speaking with Lois Lane in the goddamn field, you know, with a sunset. Even that looks like it's shot in front of a green screen. It's like just
Oh yeah, it's like
the only thing that isn't shot in front of a green screen is like the village thing where Aquaman goes to pick up the dudes. Right? They went to some friggin' village where it
well,
was.
you know,
like,
actually, there's a few shots there where it's complete. There's one shot where
well, when he walks into the water, the whole background is
Oh, yeah.
fake as fuck.
But there's a shot before that.
It's like YouTube level green screening.
Yeah, but there's a shot before that where Bruce Wayne is talking. There's nobody in the background. Like, you can't see anybody standing behind Bruce. And he's talking about how he's Batman. And you're like, oh, he's telling Arthur that he's Batman, right? Like, oh, that's significant. Then it cuts to Aquaman with that terrible green screen. It cuts right back to Bruce. And all the people are just standing there all of a sudden right behind him. And it's like, holy shit, he just told all these people that he's fucking Batman. It's like
when they wake up Superman and the stairs and everything, it like you've got the four heroes. Like, first of all, everything looks fake, but like even the bloody cop, there's like one real cop car, the one that explodes. All of the others are just CG. Like, it's basically they somehow they copy paste the one cop car that they filmed and just put them in the bed. It's like, oh my god.
We've established that there's a lot of poor green screen and terrible visual effects. I need Braxton to explain what the hell this comment means, because I don't even know what that means.
They should. Well, okay. What my
conspiracy
my
theories? What does that have to do with Justice League?
Before I started ranting about the visual effects being terrible, what I was trying to say is, yes, they are not good because they were rushed, but they should have been less. It's like, make an effort to fucking build a set and film people on locations. Stop green screening every goddamn thing. There's enough like fight scenes and visual effect, like that kind of visual effect, that you don't need. Like even like Steppenwolf just looks so hideous.
And by the way, Braxton, if you're referring to my conspiracy theories as to how they didn't want to do Zack Snyder's vision, that's well documented. I mean, look at anything Deborah Snyder has said recently about criticisms of her husband and her films, and the fact that they did want him to change, like the costumes and stuff, and they didn't want his vision, and the fact that they didn't want to wait for Snyder to eventually come back. You know, that's a business move. I don't blame them for that. I mean, they want to get paid or whatever. But
what
now
happened?
I know.
So
I think they realize now that they did make a mistake with this movie. And if you just watch the movie, you'll understand that it is it's one of the biggest mistakes ever released theatrically. I just want before you go, Starfleet Boy. Before I got this comment up here too long. Bruce Wayne's beard and hair growth changes widely between those scenes. That is something that is very noticeable throughout the movie. Have you guys noticed that? And yes, Ben Affleck's face changes as well.
I did notice that.
He goes from fat to thin to fat to thin. And Clark Kent's beard as well, because when they CG off his the stubble goes away from his mustache. When they just like
Starfleet Boy, go ahead with your comment. There.
I was just gonna say, like, the movie's bad, but it knowing that there's a Snyder cut, like a longer cut coming out, kind of made me excited to watch it, because I just wanted to see it as it is, to see what's going to be different. And then the other thing I wanted to say is, like, I think the only reason the studio realized it's wrong is because of the whole movement that released the Snyder cut movement that started. So once again, the internet somehow manages to influence. It's the other way around. What's that?
The internet won?
You could call it win or influence, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a win for the studio, right? Like, essentially, it's not a win. You know, it's not a win for.
It's a win for Snyder.
It's a win-win, right? Yeah, I guess it's a win for everyone around, because there's so much anticipation for this new cut. There's
it's a win from a loss, because we got.
Yeah, and I would wonder how many people went back and watched the theatrical cut or whatever it is that's on HBO Max or wherever. Now, because they of the very same reason. So they're getting like hella views on that, and and then they're gonna get the Snyder Cut come out. So again, I think that like I think it's smart that sometimes the internet is good. Like I guess is what I wanted to say about that.
By the way,
think
we will be getting to talking about the Snyder Cut from here and there, and that's totally cool. But yeah, go ahead.
I don't think like these high-paid executives or producers necessarily like maybe some of them are cinephiles. I'm assuming that a lot of like shareholders or whatever they don't care. They just want to see like numbers. They want to see big money come in, and they don't really give a shit about the quality of movies. I'm also assuming that when it comes to like superhero movies, I picture someone going, "It's a stupid movie for stupid people," whatever. You know what I mean? But this is god awful. Like I cannot believe that someone sat down and said like, "This is the final cut. What do you think?" And someone said, "All right, I'm gonna validate that." Like you can't. They had to know. They had to sit there and say, "This is complete trash. Let's try and get as much money out of like the opening weekend before word of mouth spreads." It's like, oh my god.
They needed to get it out before the end of the year to get the bonus, so they can get the bonuses. There was news about that, and it they didn't want to wait. They had to get it out. They wanted to get it out in March of 2017, but they still had to wait after shit went down.
So visual effects are shit, but I reckon the characters are bad too, because I think the characters and the acting. I'm not a fan of all of the characters that are in the Justice League. Somehow Cyborg is my standout in this film. Like I like what
I agree with
the
Deacon.
actor.
It's funny how you say that because he was the main character of the movie, the original version of the movie. It wasn't Bruce Wayne. Clearly, Ben Affleck is the star of the movie, right?
Yes.
Him and Gal Gadot. And apparently there was a lot of stuff because you watch the original trailers, you see all kinds of stuff with Cyborg's family, him playing football in that not the same stadium from the Dark Knight Rises, but the same team, but the DCU version of that team, I guess.
Like the Gotham team or like the Metropolis team, maybe.
Maybe I'm not sure which one. But he was the central character in this kind of story, and this is not conspiracy theories, Braxton. No. They did make a point to cut a lot of his stuff out right out of the movie. They just said, no, there's too much of Cyborg stuff. Nobody's going to care about
his
Cyborg.
Story is the most interesting, I find, in the tragedy of his death and being like reanimated by his father, and I find all of that very compelling.
Yeah,
and I find his character.
It's very sidelined. If that's the case, if it was supposed to be more, and he was supposed to be the main character, it's definitely very sidelined. I agree with.
No, I'm not talking about. He was the central. He was the central character. Apparently now, like I haven't seen the Snyder Cut, but everybody.
No, I'm saying in this version, he's definitely like sidelined. Yeah. But I agree with Geek and Review. Ezra Miller was also pretty great. Like I actually enjoyed watching his version of the Flash. I thought it was like the newest version of all that kind of stuff.
Well, I laugh because Toddy's about to get very vicious. Just before you go off, you go off in your rant, Sean, I just want to say that I like Ezra Miller in this movie. He's actually the one ray of light and some kind of like the problem with the movie is that they try to make Batman funny, they try to make Superman, and they try to do a funny bit with everybody when they could have just kept it to Ezra Miller. Yes, they could have given him like some more clever lines, like he's babbling on about what is brunch, which is not particularly funny, but there are moments there's a kind of charm to his character that I didn't expect to see in the movie, and it's like saying that he's the bright light in this crap tunnel is faint praise. But anyway, there you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not so much a rant. It's just like I know that a lot of people enjoyed Ezra Miller and they enjoyed this version of the Flash, but I really didn't. I feel like the humor is too obvious and it's too like ham-fisted, and it doesn't make me laugh. And then there are other things that bug me, like the Flash is not just a quick person. Like he's very good with his wits and he's very smart and very intelligent, and he comes off as like kind of a dummy here. It's very peculiar. I don't understand. He trips. They make him trip over a step, and it's like the Flash doesn't trip over shit.
The only thing that
his mind goes too fast. He sees all of these things. He doesn't trip over shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm not a fan.
I think
I'm
it's
not
okay because I like that the Flash isn't coordinated at the moment. Like he's just kind of been winging it, and meeting the Justice League and becoming a part of the Justice League is what's gonna like get him to do that, because he's still a kid. He's like 16 or 18. Like he's very young he's supposed to be very young in the movie.
He's a high school, college student, is he? I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, and I don't like the CW Flash particularly. Like I think the first season. Oh shit! I have to plug in my computer.
You don't like Grant Gustin?
I love Grant Gustin, or Grant Gustin, or however you say it, and I love that the
pronunciation.
And then I love how the Flash from the 80s or 90s rather is his father in that one. He's not Barry. What's his name? Todd Allen. What's Barry's father's name?
Father Allen, whatever.
Father Allen. But I also
Allen.
love that James Caviezel was Father Allen in this one. Is that was him, right? Jim Caviezel, right?
No, Billy
or
Crudup.
Billy Crudup. Oops.
Crudup.
Sorry. Sorry, Billy Crudup.
Yeah.
Actually,
I see what you guys are saying. Like, I understand what they tried to do with the Flash. I just feel like, I mean, okay, it comes from a general problem that the Justice League movie wasn't earned. And I don't mean to say they need to follow the Marvel format, but Marvel gave us a few superheroes in a few movies, and then they teamed them up. Where Justice League put, like, what's the expression, the carriage before the horse, or whatever it is? Like, they pumped the Justice League out before they introduced all these characters. So, like, then all of these character movies become spin-offs of a thing, but it's like you're trying to give me this whole Flash is new, and he's trying to, it's like, you should have given me a movie, like a kind of corny little Spider-Man, but with the Flash movie, where he's learning his powers and he's kind of new and he's just trying to save his little city. And but then you
Spider-Man get introduced that way too, like in one of the Avengers like team up movies, and then he got
different. That's because last minute Marvel got the deal with Sony and shit. But yeah, but he was in like Civil War, so we got like a small role in Civil War.
I hope the Snyder Cut is successful, because I think it would be great to have like a Cyborg film and a Flash film, and maybe a team up between them, because that's the other thing that I liked about it.
But those things are coming regardless of the Snyder Cut.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully they're coming soon, because as soon as possible. But the Flash Cyborg team up was really great, and I liked how they had their tension and they resolved it. Like those were moments that I think
they canned the Cyborg projects though. They just canned the Cyborg projects, because I think Cyborg's now on, what is it? One of the DC what are they called? DC Universe shows, DC TV.
Oh, Doom Patrol?
Doom Patrol or whatever. They've got a Cyborg in there. So they're no longer using Cyborg in the Justice
Isn't that
League
Brendan
films.
Fraser's return to?
Well, the fact
TV?
that they have a cyborg in a TV show makes no difference whether they have one in a movie or not. That has nothing to do with the other.
Well, they canceled the Cyborg movie project when they put him in the show.
No, but they didn't cancel the Cyborg movie project as a result of the Doom Patrol series. One has nothing to do with the other. They've had different versions of Slade Wilson on the movie.
But
you know what I mean? Like,
before Jeff Johns arrived and started taking
there's
control
not a
of this,
rule. You know what I mean? There's not a rule that says.
But there is. Be careful, because there was the
there might be for Batman or higher end.
No, but there was the Suicide Squad in the Arrowverse, and then once they decided to do the Suicide Squad movie, literally when they started production on the Suicide Squad movie, they told the Arrowverse, you have to stop all of these characters because we're doing them now. So the Suicide Squad that existed in the Arrowverse just disappeared. We never heard of them ever again. All of the characters
That's a separate example from one of the main reasons they're not pursuing a Cyborg project is Ray Fisher's. That's his name, right?
Just based on the look of it, the Doom Patrol
Ray Fisher's like raising hell about how he was treated by Joss Whedon and stuff. And he, by the way, he's not the only person to complain about Joss Whedon's. Well,
now it's a whole thing this week, isn't it?
Now it's a whole thing, with Joss Whedon. So I don't know what that's about. But
did you like Doom Patrol? Oh, you haven't seen Doom Patrol? You saw
I've
the other
seen a
one,
bit of it. I've seen a bit of it.
Titans. You've
Is
seen
the show
Titans.
running right now, Doom Patrol? I didn't realize. The pictures I saw, it doesn't look very interesting.
Just to bring back in the case of Arrow having that like brief stint with the Suicide Squad and them saying, yeah, don't do that anymore. That's a perfectly viable thing that they could do. I mean, if they have the company, like the higher ups, have precedent over everything. But I'm just saying, like, not every time it's the Cyborg thing and the Doom Patrol thing isn't exactly related because you have like Cyborg on Teen Titans, and there was a Teen Titans Go movie like a year
Yeah,
after.
but those are animated.
The
The live action
I
thing
know,
is so
but like
different.
it's not like say it's different with say Harley Quinn, like big characters like Joker, like to have Joker in Gotham. They even had to tippy toe. They had to kind of walk on eggshells
They were
with that
never
one and
allowed
say
to
he's
go
not
for
really
big
Joker. We kind of have
Yeah,
to. We needed a Joker character without technically saying that he is. So I think the bigger characters they're more worried about. Cyborg is something that's not on anybody's radar, and they did really sideline him in this movie, I think, because remember there's a whole like Geek in Review said this was supposed to be his origin story, and there was extra stuff with Flash too. There was all kinds of stuff where Flash is introduced before the way you see him in this movie. Like there was a scene where he's at a restaurant and somebody's gonna get hit by a car and he uses his Flash powers to save
oh,
her.
fuck all that shit. These needed to be movies. You needed to have movies before bloody Justice League came out. You can't just cram 5 origin stories into the same movie.
What's
It
that saying?
will
They put
turn
the
out to be
cart before the
trash.
horse.
Well, they put the whole, they put
Braxton says
everything,
I'm
they put
gonna
the
love Doom
house,
Patrol
they
if
put
I can watch
everything
it.
before the horse. They didn't even take the horse. Fucking hell! It's just anyway. It's it's
Can I
crazy.
answer Geek and Reviews thing too? We also didn't
Yeah.
need a third Spider-Man intro story in 15 years. I would agree with that if Tom Holland weren't the most amazing, best Spider-Man ever in the history of Spider-Man.
To
Like
be
he
honest,
is,
I
to me,
don't.
he's the like the definitive. Everyone, he's like when Jeremy Brett played Sherlock Holmes. To me, he is the most perfect Peter Parker, and I can't imagine.
Like when who played
All the
Sherlock
other
Okay,
Holmes?
Peter
so
Parkers are
now
crap
I
now.
now I have a
Wait,
now I
what'd you
have
say
a
about Sherlock Holmes? What was that?
Jeremy Brett was the best Sherlock Holmes.
Jeremy
Not
who?
Jeremy Brett, the Granada 1980s, the Granada series. He's
I have a
the
question
most
now.
amazing
I'm
Sherlock
intrigued.
Holmes. Yeah,
If you consider Tom Holland to be the best ever version of Spider-Man,
of Peter
or
Parker
like
and
of
Spider-Man. Yeah,
the definitive version,
all
would
right,
you not
correct.
want to see his origin story so that you can have
No, I don't
the origin
care.
story of the definitive version?
No,
Because
to
you're
be honest,
lacking
like
something. Like the MCU is
no.
completely lacking the fact
The
that he
thing about
has the Spidey
Spider-Man is
sense
like
but not explained.
the thing about Spider-Man is that like it's so ubiquitously known his origin story. Like everyone knows how Spider-Man originated, and like I think it's been shoved down our. I think it was a great decision not to show the
I think it was a shit
origin
one.
and to just go right into it and leave it at that. I think it was awesome.
So we're
actually.
agreed that they should have showed Cyborg's origin story as originally intended in this movie.
Oh, absolutely. This should have been like they should have absolutely done it like a cyborg movie. And you know what? Back in like 20 before this movie was coming out, Cyborg was the only character I knew nothing about, and he was the only one I was intrigued about. Because like Flash, I already had my dose of Flash with the show, so I was like, I don't really need this. Aquaman, I was not interested. Jason Momoa is not. I don't know how to put this gently. Uh, Anyway, he's not the actor that I enjoy the most. I like him; he's very nice, but I don't think he's the most talented of actors, or he doesn't have the widest range. So I didn't really care about seeing him as Aquaman.
I actually
I don't
think
know.
the
I just didn't need
ensemble.
any of this.
I think the ensemble minus Superman minus Henry Cavill in this film was actually the best thing about the film. Like to be honest, I liked everything about the interplay between the characters. I love Gal Gadot. I love Ben Affleck. I like that he's a aging, hurting Batman. Like he's like bitter. He's like, and he's trying to redeem himself, which is nice too. Like you really see that. It's like kind of like Ben Affleck is kind of like that person in real life, and so he brings that onto the screen. Jason Momoa, the only parts I didn't like was like the surfing on the thing at the end part, that but like I think I liked how he was like I bought like they played Thor as a drunkard in Endgame, but it was done humorously. Here, I think it was done a little bit more where I bought it. Like I feel like I felt more sad for the character than like laughing at him. That he was just kind of lost his way or down on the outs. So those little individual things worked. Like, yes, the movie's still crap on like it didn't execute well, but I do if we are forced to take the highlights out of it, I think those are really the strongest parts of the film, and I look forward to seeing, because it's all in the edit a lot of times. So if they're having, for me at least, shine through performances in this crappy edit, like I can only imagine what their performances will be like in a good cut or a good
You
edit.
think all of their performances were good?
Actually, yeah.
I think Gal Gadot is trash in this film.
No, I
don't believe she's not as good as she is in the first Wonder Woman, and she's a bit better in '84 as well. Like but I think this one I think
she
Batman v
in
Superman.
The delivery.
Well, you got to realize Batman v Superman and Justice League were the first things she ever filmed as Wonder Woman. Now, granted, I don't know if there were any reshoots with her for this particular film. But I know there definitely was with Jason Momoa, Ben Affleck, and Henry Cavill for sure.
Hold on a second. Aquaman was $1 billion movie?
Yeah.
Where did the money go? It didn't feel like $1 billion.
Made $1 billion. It didn't cost.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
Made $1 billion.
I was like,
you thought that movie cost $1 billion?
No, that's what I thought. Geek and Review meant in the comment.
Are you okay?
It made $1 billion.
Okay. I was like,
which is shocking. I can't believe Aquaman made $1 billion. By the way, I think the $1 billion movie people forget is Jumanji. Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, made $1 billion.
The Jack Black one?
Jesus Christ!
Yes.
Stay on track, please.
What happened?
We're talking about everything but Justice League for the past 30 minutes.
It's garbage. No one wants to talk about it. No, I understand.
Okay, no, next scene. We're only 8 minutes into the movie, by the way. We get the introduction to Wonder Woman. No. What did you think of that? Because if you asked me what power she had, at this point I wouldn't know. I'd play guessing games.
She has the lasso
she can fly.
At one point.
Hold on. She can fly. She can. Yeah, the lasso of truth is a thing, but can she fly? I don't know. We just found out in 1980 she might be able to turn things invisible sometimes, maybe in like a 50-year gap period.
She just jumps around and hits people. That's what they all do.
And in this opening scene, she has flash powers. So there you go. I don't fucking know what she's capable of. I really don't.
I think Wonder Woman has been elevated to like basically almost the same powers as Superman. Like I think that and I'm okay with that. But she's not bulletproof. She's not the Woman of Steel, so to speak. I think she can still be injured.
She's super tough in Batman v Superman. You know, she's not as strong as anything else as she is in that movie. Like she's super tough.
Yeah, but she takes quite a lot in this movie too. I liked her whole I like that scene, but it did also feel everything just feels like kind of rushed. Like that scene felt rushed, like where she's I don't know, and it did look bad, like the CG or whatever. Something about it looked off, where she's like running. The guy's like trying to mow down these people, and she's like running and blocking the bullets. It did feel like
the way that was accomplished visually, I thought was very well done. It's just the logistics of she can move this fast, then why doesn't she do it more? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the part it's inconsistent. I agree with you on that. Like it is like she doesn't even.
Some of that is what Snyder shot, and then there are other elements of it that
maybe she doesn't even
reshot, and it has to do with the bomb.
It could be that, you know.
Yeah. Okay. There's a part of the scene where the bomb goes up in the air and she throws it up. That I think that's a Joss Whedon thing. I think something else happens in the Snyder version, something like darker, like maybe a WandaVision in Civil War kind of event,
like a Sokovia type of thing. Like okay,
because there are elements where Diana's crying, surrounded by smoke after an explosion that happens from the same building in other cuts of the trailer. That aren't that way in the movie at all. This 2017 version. So I don't know.
You see, when Man of Steel came out, one of my major complaints was the death toll. Everybody, like so many civilians, get massacred in Man of Steel. There were just millions of people dead, and these are just working class people.
Millions.
Right?
Millions.
Okay, thousands,
tens of thousands.
they destroy buildings and shit. Like it, it's
Yeah.
horrible. The
It was on a
death,
world scale too, right? Like, wasn't there a part of it was in India and like, or something
I
like that
forget.
other part of the engine thing was in
It
India,
was in the
whatever.
sea, well, in the Indian
Yeah.
Sea, I think.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Point is, Man of Steel massacres people, and I think from what I remember, Dawn of Justice, so Batman v Superman, does a similar thing where they just kill so many people. But by then, it had picked up steam and it became a meme, and people were talking about it online.
Just to
So
clarify,
this
Batman v
movie,
Superman remedies the complaints about Man of Steel by saying they're fighting in an unpopulated area. They say that a couple of times to tell
and
the
so
audience that civilians aren't getting killed in these
this one
areas.
goes even further,
Oh,
and they're
and
like,
I think
okay,
it's like part of the plot too, where Bruce Wayne has that beef against Superman because of what happened to Wayne Corp and like all the people that died in his building. So like that was kind of a cool thing about that movie also was that like it was, as far as I can remember, it was like a good way, just like how they did in the Avengers with the Sokovia Accords or whatever. It was a good, like it was good that they like addressed it in both of those films, like all these mass things, but yeah, it is ridiculous.
But Sean, why are you saying that this movie goes even further in that way, where it
yes,
tries to tell you that everything's okay with the civilians?
yeah, exactly. Like this movie, it feels like they're really course correcting, or they're really trying to like, look, we're not doing it like there's one family in one house. At one point, there's a building that Mr. Superman carries away, but it's like no one's dying.
Yeah.
It's also very
Everybody's
American
saved.
because you're like, oh, it's not in America. Don't worry. They love doing this, the Hollywood. But
Can we get into Steppenwolf next?
Sure.
Oh boy.
I like the
I-
design in the Snyder cut.
he looks like a
already.
video game
Oh,
character.
Yeah, like here he looks.
Video
kind of
game
like, he's
characters
kind of
have a degree of expression, though, don't they?
I'm
This
very
guy
afraid-
has. I can't get over how bad this. Okay, for one thing,
You know how good the actor is? The actor is brilliant.
but even his voice in combination with that face makes his voice suffer. You know what I mean? It takes away from the actor's performance because he's voicing a dead-eyed CGI character that has literally less expression than the dead-eyed video game characters you see in PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 cutscenes. Like, there is less expression in this character, and you're supposed to buy him as the main antagonist. And every time he's like, "Oh, the destiny," and "Oh, mother's calling you," or distraction. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, he's the one villain in any superhero movie that I actually get upset watching. I'm not joking, man. Like, I can't even
Because the dialogue,
even Faye Dunaway in Superman 4 don't compare to this bit. Like, I hate Steppenwolf. Hate him.
well, his dialogue is shit. Like, there's the general dialogue of the movie. I don't think works very well, but all of the one-liners that all of the characters throw out, and especially Steppenwolf, because he basically only gets one-liners, and when he doesn't get one-liners, he goes off monologues about like the mother cubes or whatever shit. It's all like boring and uninteresting, and it's all of it is just MacGuffin, doomsday world things, right? Anyway, and he looks like shit.
He's obsessed.
You were gonna say Starfleet Boy?
He was so uninteresting as a villain, and apparently, so the reason for that is because he's not even the real villain, right? Like it's supposed to be someone else or something.
He's working for Darkseid, right?
Right, but that in the Snyder Cut, we'll have that story now, right? Apparently, it's a lot more prominent or whatever, and so
there are certain shots in the Snyder Cut where Darkseid is performing actions that Steppenwolf performs in this movie. So, like, Steppenwolf has a part, like, for example, I think where there's a Themyscira battle that Joss Whedon did, I think. That's the
Mythoscura? Did you say Themyscira? Is it Mythoscira or
no? It's Themyscira.
Themyscira. Okay, sorry.
Are you sure?
Themyscira.
You've been thinking it was Mythysteria?
Mythoscira. I don't know why.
Mythysteria?
Mythysteria. I can't even remember. I can't even remember if I saw the 3-hour cut of Batman.
This is
Superman.
the island. This is the secret island of the Wonder Woman you're talking about.
Right,
but
I know.
Yeah, that battle between Steppenwolf and the Amazonians is in the Snyder Cut, but it looks like it's Snyder's version. It's not like this rushed weird version where they're tossing the thing around. Like I think in this version he's actually mowing the Amazonians down. Like he's actually slicing them up a bit. And there is supposed to be some bloodletting violence in this movie. Not a whole lot, but the Snyder Cut is supposed to be R-rated for violence and probably language.
I also think the thing that fails about this whole thing with the cubes, and maybe it'll feel better in the Snyder Cut, is that like it's too reminiscent of the Infinity Stones in a sense. Like it's just too like it's like yeah.
It reminds me of the Tesseract and the cube from Transformers.
Right, and on top of that, it's also the same. Wasn't the whole idea in Man of Steel that that thing was going to terraform Earth and change Earth, right? So it's the same thing. It's like an alien coming here to change Earth to like make it, make it anew. And it's just like, it just felt like I wanted something more original. It would have been really cool, or something like that. But yeah, that's the only thing about it. And then Steppenwolf is totally uninteresting. I kind of like the whole thing that Cyborg was created of the cubes or whatever. Like that was neat. And so that was the only thing that kept me interested in that plot, was to see how that was going to develop with Cyborg's character, because that was neat because he has so much potential, right? Like he can tap into
there's one line that
things and stuff
drops,
like that. You are a child of chaos.
Yes, and you're like, oh, that's the most interesting thing to come from the goddamn cubes. Cyborg was created from them, and the other guy says you're a child of chaos. It's like, where's that going? That's interesting. Show us that instead of you bloody terraforming.
And that would have been cool too. I hope there is more conflict. I hope Cyborg is seduced a little bit by whatever the power is of the cubes, and maybe we see some of that in the Snyder Cut. Who knows? But yeah, on the whole, like that's what I think fails about the Justice League film as it is that everything's just super predictable and kind of like has been done before, and you kind of, there's no high stakes really, like, and like there's nothing in it that like you don't think, like, I mean, for crying out loud, they bring back Superman and he's only bazonkers for like 2 seconds before they pull out the big guns, and it's like I knew exactly what they meant when they said let's pull out the big guns. It was going to be either his mom or Lois, and like I knew it wasn't going to be like some weapon or something like that. It was just super predictable and stuff that.
They also brought back Superman the movie after they kill him.
Yeah, like, I also don't find it believable that Ma Kent would lose her house, considering how famous Superman was, like that he didn't put aside, like that he didn't already buy out his mom's house for her. Like, remember there's this whole story about how Ma Kent lost her house like to the bank.
Yeah.
Did you? I was just like, I didn't find
what does that have to do with
believable.
Superman? What's Superman gonna do?
Before he died, I'm pretty sure he would have taken care of her.
Like as Clark, you mean like Clark, the son?
No, but Superman, she knows who he is.
Rob a bank and give her the money for the house? What do you mean?
For crying out loud, you don't think they give you like $100,000 for winning the Nobel Peace Prize? You don't think they give you like millions of dollars?
He was on trial for being Superman. They hated him. Yeah. Half the world thought he was a criminal.
And then when he died, they were like, "Boo-hoo, we miss him."
No, I'm saying before in Man of Steel, like when he was famous, when he was like, I don't know, whatever.
He wasn't that rich. I guess also, he would have probably signed like a life insurance.
Clark or Superman never had money. I don't know how you, but that's why you need a Bruce at the end of this movie to say, It's weird. You bought the bank. You just could have bought the farm. I mean, you didn't have to buy the bank. But look, this scene here, I don't know.
It suggests that he's going to reform the bank.
This scene here, I absolutely hate, where the woman's talking about like, I'll stick an alien probe up your. I'm like, this is where my heart kind of sank when I first saw this movie with the Batman scene. First off, and then you got that god awful Everybody Knows rendition with like the slow motion bullshit of all these people that I don't care about. And then you get into this where it's like, it's some woman on TV and the guy's like, next up on the news, for some reason this is a news story. Crazy woman says aliens are stealing her man. And she's like, my guy's a good man. Alien stuck probes up his ass. I'm going to stick an effing probe up your ass. I'm like, that's where the first time I saw this movie, I was like, no, I checked out. I was gone. For the rest of the movie, I understand what happened here. somebody fucked this up. That's when I knew. And I watched I watched the movie all the way through. Gave it the benefit of the doubt, and I was nodding my mm-hmm. Then it gets to the part where Superman comes back to life, picks up Batman and says, "Do you bleed?" with that fucked up CG mouth. And then Batman's like, "Oh, definitely something's bleeding," duh, like that. And I was like,
also, why did
people were laughing around me, and I was just looking at them like, "What's wrong with you people?"
I was upset that Superman's death pants didn't fit him, and why did he and like that they were too long. Like, what was up with that? Like, why were they like below like almost to his toes?
All of it is hideous. It looks. I understand the emotion they were trying to convey and like what they were trying to do, but all of it, like the pants aren't good, his CG mouth isn't good, the fight looks shit. The background is like shit CG. All of it is garbage. Just all of it. Just
it is really garbage. It's true. It's very trash.
and to think that it's one of the most
definitely bleeding, dying.
And to think that this is one of the most expensive movies ever. It's like, how does it look this bad? Like, you could go out there with a phone and film in HD with it fucking better. Like, what are you doing? God damn. The music, by the way, like the score, when it's just basically like mood music, it's very unnoticeable. You don't recognize it. But the rare instances where they actually try to play a tune, like a track,
I did enjoy hearing the Batman theme from the Tim Burton films, by the way. That was cool. It was Danny Elfman who did the score for this, right?
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, he brought back the
really.
Da-da-da-da-da.
The only thing I noticed is the da-na-na-na-na-na from Wonder Woman.
Of course,
like,
right.
That's the only thing that, because it makes me think of Mad Max. Every time I hear that music,
does that mean there's like a 4-hour score?
There's a hint of Danny Elfman's score when Batman shows up. I mean, when I show up. Junkie XL is doing the score for the Snyder Cut, by the way.
Is that the guy from Mad Max?
He's like the number one.
He's the one from Wonder Woman.
He's the number one composer now. He's done like amazing things everywhere. He's like Trent Reznor. He's up there with him now in like new and upcoming or like sought after composers.
I really don't have many I really don't have many positives to say about the film. Like, these scenes seem edited in order. I mean, the actions happen in order, which is
it's easy to follow. I'll give it that. It's relatively simple to understand.
But it's so long for no goddamn reason, right? Like, I don't know.
Basically, the movie is Steppenwolf shows up, steals the mother boxes. Bruce gets the band together. They say, we got to resurrect Superman. Superman gets resurrected. They have a little conflict. They go and battle Steppenwolf before things get out of control. Superman shows up the last minute, punches Steppenwolf, then goes away immediately because he's like, I can hear people in trouble, so I gotta fuck off now so you guys can battle him a bit more, right? Because Superman just show up and he'll like kick everybody's ass, so they gotta get him like away for a minute with Flash to do some other stuff so that Wonder Woman can have can dodge his axe a few more times, and Aquaman can say, "Oh yeah," and like the Kool-Aid dude, and then Cyborg's like, "Booyah," and it's like, who wrote this shit?
Yeah, did someone write in the dialogue? Aquaman says "Yee-hoo" when he jumps, and then in the following edit, he says it again. Oh no, there's a Cyborg moment where Cyborg says the ride's not over, and then it just goes back to "Yee-hoo." It's like what the anyway? What are y'all
Braxton,
doing?
I know exactly what shot you're talking about, not in a creepy way, but. It's where she picked the beginning, the opening scene with her, where she picks up the guy with the lasso, and it's like shot from really below, and it's like you can see kind of under her skirt. And there's nothing there. I mean, it's underwear or the costume still, but still, it's like it's a little bit gratuitous. But yeah.
Well, Gal Gadot plays like a sexy character in the Fast and Furious franchise, so they always try to do that because they play up that aspect of a character.
She's like Fast and Furious franchise, they're deliberately like following girls' asses. Like you don't even see their faces for the first few seconds. It's like a Michael Bay movie.
Those aren't real characters. Those are just like extras, that kind of stuff. But like in the core characters of the Fast and Furious movie, Gal Gadot. But anyway, but yeah, this is not
I didn't
supposed
even
to.
notice this up the skirt shot, but I kind of feel like I would be a hypocrite if I cared about that scene because I was all about Henry Cavill's hairy chest as
You were
much as
mad
they
at his
wanted to.
pants.
What's that?
You were mad at his pants.
I was mad at his pants. I thought they should have been more ripped, like on the in scene, and we should have seen more thighs or something like that. So, no, I don't know.
Maybe they
I
can
don't know.
CG the thighs.
I think I have to watch it again to see how much that scene stands out if it does feel sexualized, but I don't remember it. So but I don't particularly,
this
as I
might be
just
it.
illustrated, I don't pay attention to the women that way.
I don't know
as
if he's
much.
talking about this particular shot right here, where it's kind of like it.
I don't know.
I
That's
don't
not a
know.
sexualization shot. I
don't
think
know.
that looks like,
Could be
you know, when
another
you're
shot
trying.
though.
Yeah, well, that shot makes, to me, it makes her feel like she's powerful. You know, that one of those kind of shots you try to show or illustrate that she's got the upper hand.
How does
That's how I
Superman
see it.
smell good, by the way, if he's been a cadaver? Oh, maybe the amniotic
That
fluid.
that
Uh,
bothers me. Yeah. She's like, you smell good. You recently resurrected corpse.
It's Kryptonian. What do you know about Kryptonians?
I love the bo of a dead man.
Well, apparently he doesn't. They were saying something like he doesn't actually decompose, right? Like
You
Superman,
rot.
he does.
Something's definitely bleeding.
I also didn't care for the Bat Jet. I didn't care for all the Mercedes Benz like obvious product placement in the film. Like, why is he driving that really gaudy, audacious? Oh, and I also hated that scene. That was another thing that was that I think what was more cringy probably than the upskirt shot was when Flash asks him, "What's your superpower?" and he says, "I'm rich." It's just so obnoxious and so just gross. Like, I don't expect Bruce Wayne to be that way, I guess, but I guess he's doing a character.
I
It
see
might
it
be
differently.
really.
Yeah, I'll tell me if I'm wrong, but there's a thing on the internet where it's funny to joke around about how Batman's superpower is, oh, he's rich, lol, lol, lol. That's a meme. And I feel like this is a movie made by very old people that want to be like they want to get with it with the youngs. So they're like, we're gonna use a meme and we're gonna put that in our dialogue. And he's like, oh, he's gonna say I'm rich, and lol lol lol. All of the youngins are gonna laugh and they're gonna find it funny.
It's funny that you say that. They do that with Joker. They do that with Joker in the Snyder Cut.
In the Snyder Cut, yeah.
He says a phrase. We live in a society, and that's a Joker meme that's been around for a while, and fans have been dying for Joker to say that in a movie. And now,
do we think the Snyder Cut's gonna be good? It might just be like 2 more hours of this. It might just be like a longer version of this shit, but with better visual effects. I mean, are we ready for this?
Well, think about it this way. I think the theatrical version of Batman v Superman is not a good movie, and then the actual version of it, the 3-hour cut, is a decent movie. It's not great, but it's a lot better than the theatrical cut, because the problem with the theatrical cut is that it cuts out essential elements of the story and expects you to fill in the blanks, and then when you watch the extended version, you're like, oh, that's what happened with that character. Oh, that's what happened in that scene where they cut away too early. Because apparently Superman does something very bad early on in the movie that you don't see. So it's left to your imagination. And in the longer version, you see exactly how that thing went down. And it's like probably 2 or 3 minutes longer than...
In Batman v Superman, there are essential things to cut out that they could then put back in. In this movie, there's nothing essential to cut out. Like, I don't see what essential things could be put back in. Like it.
There's alternate versions of a lot of scenes. Like there's an alternate version of
they're gonna change things up a bit.
When Aquaman meets Bruce Wayne for the first time, there's a different version of that. There's a different version of Clark going back to the farm. There is a scene with Lois and the mother, but it's not the same one we saw in this movie. They completely redid that whole thing. They may have used some shots, but that's a whole different thing. And I think what they're going to do in the 4-hour version is that they're going to actually focus a lot more on... A lot of that time is going to be devoted to Cyborg. And when they introduce Flash, for example, they're going to have a whole they're going to have a more I don't know if it's like an origin of him if they're going to show, but they're going to show him in action before he meets up with anybody. It's kind of like, oh, here's Flash, here's Cyborg, and it's going to show them all individually first. When in this version, it's more like, let's just fucking throw everything in and just chop it up and refilm that and then insert this shitty green screen shot. And oh yeah, the way Snyder wanted to do all these special effects, like the end, if you watch the original trailers, you could actually see some color in there. And then in this version, it's like all just one reddish kind of brownish color.
They've got like purple crystals coming out of the terraforming thing.
It looks dull as hell to me. Like, for some reason, it just looks really, really dull and just ugly looking. And I think they fixed some of that. And the nightmare sequence stuff from Batman v Superman that went nowhere in this movie. They just completely just chucked it out the window. That's actually addressed in the Snyder Cut.
You just reminded me. I also didn't think that poor family was funny at all.
And I never feel scared for them. Like, there's no tension.
I actually thought they would have been killed. Like, how is no one killed? And then there's a whole apartment building full of people apparently too.
The whole planet's terraformed.
Meanwhile, the town
fine. It's like,
the town was supposed to be evacuated, by the way, right? So, like, why are people still in the building?
In the apartment building, and it's just like seems.
Are they one of those, like, when there's like a volcano erupting and you gotta say everyone's gonna leave town, but then fucking Jolene's like, I'm not leaving my house. I gotta stay here.
A whole apartment building full of people. Also, I found it appalling that they would suggest that, like, there was the whole suggestion that, like, some people would move back to a nuclear irradiated accident site, and that just doesn't happen. Like, there's no, like, Chernobyl, which is a real nuclear accident site. Like, there's no one living near there. Even desperate people, they keep them away from those sites. Like, humanity's not that bad. I don't think. Like, if that's the case, if people are in fact living near Chernobyl right now because they have nowhere else to go, then I need to stop doing this and create a foundation and go help those people right now, because that would be like the worst thing ever.
At Chernobyl Foundation.
But, like, this family could see the nuclear stacks from their window. Like, that's like that does, I don't know, just I found that appalling.
It makes no sense. There's no shops. There's just an apartment building and a house. Yeah, that's it. Right. That's all there is, right?
I don't think this will change much in the Snyder Cut, but that whole end third act where everything's growing and none of that looks like it's in a real place. Every single part of it looks just.
But you've seen the behind the scenes. It's literally 6 actors in just green everywhere, right? Like, everything is green. The only things that aren't green are, like, their weapons, basically, and their costumes. Like, all of it.
The bug people had the potential to be cool also, and they were just cartoony as well. Like, I just thought, like, and that's, I guess, the thing is that, like, I guess I got used to Batman being more realistic with the Nolan films. Like, I got used to a more in-world aesthetic, and so to go back to this, like, kind of comic book aesthetic for Batman just felt off completely to me, and it was worse in this movie for some reason than it was in Batman v Superman.
But there's an execution to it as well, because I don't mean to, like, necessarily compare this to, like, Avengers Endgame or something, but there's a lot of scenes in Avengers Endgame where everything is CG. It's happening on, like, a CG ship. You've got CG Thanos talking to, like, a CG space elf. All of it is fake. He's fighting Hulk. The only real thing in the scene is, like, Tom Hiddleston and Chris Hemsworth. But for some reason, it just, it looks better and it feels more real. And it can't just be the quality of the visual effects. It has to be, like, the creative decisions or the aesthetic choices behind what elements you're going to use. If you've just got random, dirty, brown, shitty elements come in front of your screen that are spitting off particles and growing crystals, I can't relate, or my brain can't interpret that as real things. I've never seen that before.
And then another juxtaposition is
I guess.
And then another juxtaposition is look at how bright and colorful Thor Ragnarok is, and it still works. Like it's very cartoony, but it still works. So I
But
think
they
it's a
went out there and
combination.
built sets for like whatever friggin' trash planet they were on with in the beginning.
Right.
They went out there and filmed
I gotta
Australia.
watch
No,
that movie. I love that
they
movie.
filmed, they
They
built
filmed
sets.
Australia. Wow. Trek on the
Yeah,
Tube.
that the whole junkyard stuff when Thor first lands, all that is there. Like no, very little of that is actually like CG composite. So when you have the actor going around in that environment, it actually does feel real.
It adds a lot.
And Thor Ragnarok did well to have brightly colored sets, and it's brightly colored. It's brightly lit movie anyway, but
Well,
it's always a
understand that
clever
it was
extension. It's always good sets
reminiscent
with a
of
clever extension of CG. Is
yeah.
what I find makes it
It
believable.
was
they were
it
going
was
for a darker
reminiscent
tone.
of
Yeah, I
the Fifth
understand that.
Element's aesthetic. I thought like that's what Ragnarok, that planet kind of reminded me of, was like a Fifth Element kind of vibe with even the weird costumes and the like Jeff Goldblum's character playing that
Everything's just
instrument.
eccentric as fuck.
Just
Yeah,
eccentric type of stuff going on. But going back to the Justice League, that's what I'm saying is like there were all these like kind of elements in it that just like were off-putting, or like, you know, and like you said, maybe not a lot of that'll change. But if the story is better because they are able to restore or like somehow re-edit the film so that the performances work better, so that there's more depth to the whole thing, then you can start ignoring or like not work, you know, that's like how the mind works, right? Like if you're not interested, you're just going to nitpick on like every,
that's it.
if
That's
you're
the thing. When you're not invested in the fight that's going on, all of a sudden you're kind
looking
of
at everything
detached.
else.
You're just watching
Yeah,
it and you're like, "God, this looks ugly," because you're not invested in the actual fight that's
right,
going on.
right.
So yeah.
But
Also,
hopefully the Snyder Cut will do that. We'll kind
well,
of remember,
but
you
the
know, who
Snyder
knows?
Cut
We'll
will
see.
at least be like a vision. It will be basically the realization of the vision of one person, and so even if like a movie is bad, I can still kind of respect it for being what the director wanted it to be. Whereas this does feel very kind of manufactured on a lot of levels. You know, there's been reshoots. You can physically see them in the movie. You know, it's been fixed and changed, and there's been so much like people coming in and saying this needs to be like that, this needs to be like that, and ultimately it's just a jumble crap pit of. It needed to be terraformed. The entire movie needed to just like be. Anyway, it is what it is. It's
What do
worse
you
than
mean?
what I thought it was. I can't believe it's worse. I remembered it being really shit, but it's worse than that. I'm astonished.
Let's
I
end. What are some positive things we can say about this movie? No, I'm joking. No, seriously.
no, well, I think we touched on those throughout our
Flash
discussion.
maybe, but Sean
I
doesn't
would say
think
that
Flash is
like
cool.
No, the positives are like the positives are things that we would have liked to see more of. Basically, the positives exist, but we didn't have enough of them. Like I think Cyborg was very interesting, and I think his backstory was compelling, and I would have liked to see more of that. I didn't mind the Clark Kent and Lois Lane moments. I think they're nice and cute, and I think that both of them are good actors.
I feel nothing when I see those two.
Oh, really?
For the most part, some parts like there's a scene. There's a scene in Batman v Superman where Lex Luthor throws her off the building, and he catches her, and the way that's filmed, and the way they land, and that little scene, and the thing where he said, where Superman's like, people are not good or something. He says something really dour, which doesn't make too much sense in the theatrical cut again. But if you watch the whole movie, what he says then, like his cynical attitude is a little more is explained more, and the fact that in the theatrical cut he kind of goes at Batman right away before listening to him, and a lot of people complained if Superman just had to ask some questions or like talk to him first, they could have avoided the whole fight. Yes, I can understand how that's confusing in the theatrical version, but because in the extended version they show him investigating Batman so much more and finding out like pretty much you see him turn against him through the acquirement of all this like information from witnesses and hearing about like his negative effect. And by the end of the movie when he goes at him that seems much more justified in that sense. But anyway,
What I think would have been really great is, and this is just hear me out here for a second. This is gonna be really like kind of probably it's derivative and it's a little wild, but
okay,
when they resurrected Superman in the amniotic fluid, it would have been cool if this like dark, angry Superman that we first get was there, but then they didn't know about this because they went off to follow him. But then Superman re-resurrect himself resurrects again twice from the amniotic fluid and has to go and fight himself like he does in Superman. What is it, 3? And he has to fight himself and kind of like remerge with, with Dark Superman. I would have loved that. I would have thought that was a cool homage to to the other Superman films.
Just adding shit to the pile, yo.
I know, I did.
Just adding shit on shit.
I told you it was gonna be weird and derivative. It was a wild idea. I had to have it.
Anything goes at this point. Whatever. Just put it all in. Just mix it up.
That actually could work if it was like if like you zoomed into his head and like it was in his mind. Oh, had, like maybe. A little mind battle with with a black suit Superman and another
Zack Snyder going back to Sucker Punch.
I don't know.
It's weird that it is also weird that there's this guy running around on the planet terraforming, and like for like 5 days Superman's like, nah, I'm good. Like he's like, I'll be on the farm while the world ends. Like it's like it didn't feel right. I thought I don't know that like
that's what Superman does in this universe. Because from Man of Steel, like Zod arrives and he's like, yo, I'm gonna fuck up your planet because I want you. And Superman's like, I could leave and save the planet, but I'm gonna chill out and hide. And it's like he prefers putting the entire world in danger than actually going somewhere to fight Zod. Like he could go to their ship, he could go into space, they could go to another planet, he could hide somewhere where there's like no one, but he has to hide on this planet and put the world in danger.
Since you brought up a good point earlier, Sean, about how the villains are kind of they want to do the same thing. Ever since Zod, every villain has been like with Lex Luthor wants to create Doomsday, fuck up the world, and then along comes Steppenwolf. Mother Boxes wants to mess up the world. It's like, yeah, okay, I guess they have to deal with a world-ending situation.
And then you get the post-credit scene with Lex Luthor that wants to create just his own league for whatever reason. I need a league of my own, right?
But I also think that like I love that actor. What's his name? Who plays Lex Luthor? Eisenberg? Jesse, thank you. But I just think he's playing Mark Zuckerberg again. Like it doesn't feel. He doesn't
he's
feel
not
like
playing Lex Luthor. That's for sure.
He's playing Mark Zuckerberg off his meds because he does the little like weird twitchy things. I'm like, what the fuck?
It just feels like he's doing a Mark Zuckerberg, and I get it because like they're attacking billionaires now. It's Lex Luthor's always served as a method to criticize the ultra wealthy, out of control, super, villain or whatever, that type of thing. So I get it that that's what they're doing there, but still, it just doesn't work. I wish that there was a more. I also don't think that like Lex works as a young man, like. If that makes any sense, like again, like he just doesn't work. Like I can't take him seriously, and I'm sorry to young people everywhere.
You know what's funny about that?
Who want to aspire to be supervillains.
That post-credit scene with Eisenberg with the bald head and Joe Manganiello or whatever his name is, as Slade Wilson, as Deathstroke. That's like one of the better scenes in the movie that has nothing to do with anything. It's just like,
well, because it's not CG.
I'm more interested in what this is.
It's an actual scene. They went out and filmed it.
Yeah. And there's also there's a
real boat.
There's a mid-credit scene with Superman and Flash having a race.
CG boat. Wait, there was Superman and the Flash. What?
They have a race.
Another one other than the one at the end.
No, just the one at the end. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. I don't like how Flash. I don't like his stance.
I love that. He's like when he's the way he runs. I love it. I love it. It's great.
All right, I'm gonna have to leave you guys.
All right.
It's past my bedtime. No,
we're going to end it now anyway. Thank you for joining us, folks. and hearing us pitch and
This
complain about
wasn't the most positive
this
conversation.
poor movie. Oh, I feel bad for the movie now.
Hopefully we saved
No, you
you. Now you got to watch the Snyder Cut. Don't watch this one if you haven't seen it. And we saved you 3 hours.
And
of
can
your
we
life.
come back here
years.
right after the Snyder Cut and discuss it?
Yeah, I think we
We
should.
should do the same thing. We should like
We're like,
watch
this
it
is
within
even
2 or 3
worse.
days. Oh my
How
god!
could it
I
be
hope
worse? 4
We'll
hours
see.
of my life gone.
And then I won't remember that I ever saw that cut the next time we talk about it.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
You won't remember anything about it.
Thank you, everybody in the chat, for watching.
Yeah.
I want to thank Starfleet Boy and Sean for discussing this movie with me, and can't wait to see the Snyder Cut. Is it going to be any better? Hopefully. Who knows? Until next time, stay frosty.